So hope everyone had a great Christmas and a fabulous New Year. And we are going to get started. And where we are, we're going to talk about handling buyer inquiries. So you got your property marketed now. So people's going to start calling you or texting you or whatever. So phone calls, if you're in the middle of dinner, if you're in the middle of the store or something, you don't necessarily have to take that call, but have a good voicemail. You know, mine, I think, says, I'm out of the office right now. Please leave a message. Mine actually has even my email address on it. If you'd like to email me at this email address. Something professional on it. Now, the phone calls, you can do them kind of off the top of your head when you first get started. You just have one or two properties, but as you get more and more properties, for example, when I have 15, 20 properties, I have to be in front of my computer. I can't keep, they all start running together. So that's the thing. So if I can call them back when I'm in front of my computer, it's good. Text, it goes without saying, in any of these things, respond in a reasonable time. I don't care if it's text, email, messenger inquiries. The Facebook Messenger, the cool thing about that, if you don't respond immediately, it's not quite as bad, because people may text you in the middle of the night or whatever. Good thing is, if you're up in the middle of the night, you can respond to their thing. And as you know, in Facebook Messenger, you can see when they've read your text. It will, the check mark will go away and their profile picture is there on the side. What you will get a lot of times when you market an ad on Facebook Messenger, because it's just one button a buyer or potential buyer can mash, and that is this still available? It's simple to put, yes, it is available. Matter of fact, it's a one button push. You can do that. You can do that. That's certainly okay. A lot of times what I try to do, if I have the time, I'll type, yes, it's available. What questions can I answer for you about the property? Or have you been to see the property yet? What I'm trying to do is engage them in a conversation to see exactly how interested they may or may not be. Are they a tire kicker? Do they have some interest in it? Those are some things to look at. One other thing that's not on here, a lot of times people want to make an offer. It may be a decent offer that you may or may not be willing to accept, but they may not have been out to the property. What I tell everyone is, I appreciate your offer. We'll certainly consider that. Why don't you go look at the property, make sure that it does work for you and your needs. If it does, we'll go from there. Because you just don't want them throwing out an offer, because if they do that, they get under contract and they've never been out there, then they get out there, it's not what they want, and then why the contract, it's no need to tie your property up like that. So I always encourage them to go out there. Buyers lists. Buyers lists come the same way as they do, or your leads come the same way as how your buyers are inquiring. Phone calls, text, email, Facebook Messenger. Some of these files got a little jumbled around, so we're still having to correct some of this stuff. But buyer in, find your, here we go. Sure we're at the right place here. Buyers list. Here we go. So buyers list. What is a buyers list? A buyers list is when people start calling you, what you want to do is gather their information if they seem like a serious buyer. Maybe you have a mountain property. What you want to do is gather their information. I have a spreadsheet. It's very simple. It's got the county or areas that they're interested in. For example, North Carolina, I have 3 different buyers lists because of the way the state's laid out. You have the mountains, you have the coast, and what we call in the middle is we call it the Piedmont. So I have those 3 different buyers lists, because if I get a property on the coast, a mountain buyer is not interested in that. So I don't want to send that to them. So I break up my buyers list into smaller categories, but I want their email address, phone number, what they're looking at, what their budget is. Are they looking to pay cash or finance? whatever information you can get. The more you get, the better it is. But what you do, you can organize that on a spreadsheet, putting notes with it. Again, you can have as many lists as you want. I have several. Probably each state has several. Even for example, let's take Georgia. You got South Georgia, you got Northern Georgia, Northwest Georgia, which will be the mountainous area, whereas somebody that's in the Atlanta area may not be interested in something that far away. So you can split it up. So how am I going to get to these people? Or how am I going to let them know what I got and that sort of thing? Well, we can talk about that. And I didn't say in the beginning, if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me, shoot a chat question, whatever you want to do. I will definitely be glad to stop and answer it for you. I don't want to go through it and then you have a question from the beginning. I'd rather you understand as we go. So notifying the buyer's list by property. You can email that out yourself. Hey, and mine's very simple. It may say, got a property in the area that you have an interest in. Click on the link below for more details. And basically it's a link to that property. Maybe it's my website link, maybe it's a Zillow link or a Craigslist link, some link where I've got marketed so I can send it to them and they can look at it. That way I'm not having to type out everything in that, because you may have 1 or 2, 3, 4 properties that you blast out at one time. If you just got links for each one of them, it's quicker and it's easier. Again, you can do that email yourself. What I would encourage you to do is do a BCC, a blind carbon copy to everyone, so everybody don't know everyone's email address. Another thing, if you got virtual assistants, they can email that out for you. I've had my virtual assistants do that, especially if it's a smaller list. There's also services like MailChimp. MailChimp is probably the most popular. You can upload your buyer's list in that and MailChimp will blast it out for you. Some CRM, which is management systems where you can track your properties and that sort of thing, what you've done on them, the process of them, they have that capability, some of them. And then there's other email blast companies out there. MailChimp is free though, up to, I want to say it's 2,500. So you've got a fair amount that you can blast out there. And again, it's all about getting it out to as many people as possible. Another thing, and I don't have it on this slide, or it may be on a different slide, is another marketing aspect to a property is looking out there and sorry about that, is looking out there at the neighbors. Would neighbors be interested in this property? And not necessarily just the neighbor connecting the property, but it may be the top 10 neighbors that are close. I may have a lot, for example, in my neighborhood, I'm in one section of the neighborhood, there's a vacant lot in the other part. You couldn't buy it for so long because some extinct bird lived on it or something. But I had an interest in it. Well, bird moves, long story short, I'm walking in the neighborhood and they're starting to build a house on it. Had I known, somebody sent out a blast to surrounding neighbors or so many neighbors within the neighborhood, I may have got that, say, hey, we've got a lot in your neighborhood, I'd be interested. I would have bought it for either just long-term investment. Maybe I've got family or friends that want to move to the neighborhood, because sold it to them or told them about it, that sort of thing. And when you do that, and we can get into depth about it a little bit more, I never put the pricing on there. The whole letter campaign that you can do, or a texting campaign you can do to area owners of properties to see if they're interested in buying your property. So that's just a couple of things to think about. That's just starting your business. So making the sale. So we've talked to buyers. We've got one that's went out to see it. He likes it. He wants to make you an offer. He's made you an offer, and the offer makes sense to you. So the first thing we're going to talk about is a cash contract. Now, a cash contract, we've talked about a contracts that we buy or where we get the property under contract. We have that. We've seen those. I'm going to pull up a contract that's actually a sale contract. Let me pull up one here. One up here. All right. Buy contract. Yeah, here we go. All right, so let me share my screen. So this is an old sale agreement that I had with someone that bought property, I guess a couple months back. Yeah. So let's just go over it. This is a cash contract. We'll get into the owner finance contracts here in a few minutes, but I want to go over this one first. It's the basic, most simplest one. Obviously, this contract is dated, whatever date you're creating a contract. The buyer, and what I ask for my buyer to put the contract, and I fill all this out. I don't have the buyer do it. Ask the buyer for their name, the name that they want the property to be in. That's what I ask them. The mailing address, email address, phone number, which you probably already have, and when they would like to close on the property. If it's cash, they should be able to close pretty quickly, unless they need to do something like a perk test or something, check with the county on something. So we've got that, got their name, got my company name as the seller. Here's the address of the property. Now, if you don't have an address, if it doesn't have an official address on the county records, just put what you have. Maybe 0 Burkemont Road, or it may just be Morganton, North Carolina. Put your county, you put the parcel number, that's the APN of the property. I always put approximate size. And as a checks and balance, we do the list, the legal description. That way, that's the booking page, not the legal. We went with the or booking page. So it's book number 2076, page number 667. You go to that, you'll see this property deed. So here's the buyer's price. Buyer agrees to pay $8,500. In this case, we made them put down $500 for the price. Yes, there are videos, and remind me at the end, I will tell you how to get to those videos. But yeah, there are videos of the previous classes that I've done. So we'll definitely do that. So at least $500 purchase will be paid at the time of execution. This is kind of like what you call earnest money deposit, or just a deposit down that they're going to do it. But here's the key thing. Look at the part that's in bold print. This is important. This deposit of $500 must be received by the seller, which is me, or seller's title company or closing attorney, depending on what state you're in. You'll use one or the other. No more than 5 business days from the date of the contract, date of the signed contract. Why do I, and then the balance is paid at the end. Why do I do that? Why do I put a time limit on? What I found out many, many moons ago is if you don't put a time limit on that, somebody may sign this contract, say they're going to buy it, and never give you your deposit, or they drag it on for weeks upon weeks. Well, you don't really have a clause to really get out of it. It's a very gray area. So right here, if you gave me my deposit, today, 5 business days later, if I don't have it, this right here will null and void this contract. I can continue to market the property. I can sell it to someone else. I don't have to sell it to you at that point. Number 2 just talks about conveying a regular title to the property, official communications through U.S. mail or email. A lot of these things are attorney things that you have to just put in there. My attorney looks at all my contracts as they're drafted. initially, not every time I write one, but when we wrote the contract itself. Terms of this agreement basically says it's all one big agreement. Shall be governed by the laws which the property is located in. So if it's a South Carolina deal, it's governed by those laws. If it's a Nevada deal, those laws. Time is the essence in this agreement and every term condition. That's a legal term. No modification shall be this agreement shall be binding unless agreement in writing signed by both parties, and nobody can just change it. Taxes for the current year should be prorated to and include the date of sale. Just like buying a house or anything else normal, it's prorated to whatever that may be. Upon payment of the balance of the purchase price, including clearing any certified bank check or wire, other means of payment, buyer shall have an immediate possession use of property. Property shall close on or before December 6, 2021. That's the time we decided on. I also put in here, buyer will pay typical closing costs or typical buyer closing costs. I do that because I don't want them to think that I'm going to pay all the closing costs, because I'm already, keep in mind, when you're buying the property on the front end from your seller, you are covering all those closing costs. So you don't want to cover them on the back end as well. That's one option. And again, that's the first page. Everyone signs it. I use DocuSign, HelloSign, something, basically electronically sign it, but you can email it to them however they want to get it. If an older couple, sometimes they want you to mail it to them. Second page, I developed this for the attorneys and the closing attendants and things, because they need all of this information. So it's easy for them to see, so they're not calling and aggravating you. It's got all of my information, email, phone number, all that good stuff. Down here, it's got my buyer's information, his phone number, email, address, so they can get in contact with him as well. So that's what we have on that. Questions on this cash contract. It's relatively straightforward, but that's the basis of that. And this is a key thing about the deposit, the big key thing. Awesome. Let me pull up a different contract. Do a finance contract. Yes. I have a couple different companies that we run things through. So we will do this one. Making sure I got the right one pulled up. Okay, here we go. This. Okay, so here's our finance contract. It's a little bit different. Number one, real property. The real property is legally described on the attached Exhibit A. We'll get to that. That's about page 3 or 4 here. Right here is that. So that's page 3. That's Exhibit A. Conveyance. Now this is interesting. So this is one that you're taking a down payment on, and you're going to owner finance it for your buyer. Now, one thing to keep in mind is when you owner finance one, the property stays in your name. You don't put it in their name to begin with, just because if they stop paying, it's a little easier to handle things. What keeps them, and you'll get this question, well, it's not in my name. How am I sure that I'm going to get the property when I get finished? And I always refer them to item number 2, conveyance. Seller shall convey title of the real property to buyer by special warranty deed or its equivalent no later than 30 days after fulfillment of the buyer's obligation. So basically, if you don't have a title or a deed to the property within 30 days after you make your last payment or pay it off, then you have the right to sue me. So that covers them. And kind of to walk you through that process, and then we're way ahead of where we should be. I just want to kind of, when we run into things, I like to at least go over it a little bit. When I get someone that pays their last payment, what I do, I get their payment and I deposit it in the bank, know that's clear and everything. I create a new deed in their name or have an attorney do it. Either way you want to do it, depending on the deed. Sometimes I have my attorney do it. It's about $100 if he does it. But I have that new deed created. I will sign it, saying where I'm deeding it to them. I have to have it notarized. What I will do at that point is I will send that deed to the county, and I verify with the county what my costs are to have that deed recorded. It's usually not a lot, but I send that deed to them. What I get a tracking number from the post office of the mailer, so you can track when it gets to the clerk of court's office. I share that same tracking number with my buyer so that they know I have sent it and they should be getting it. Now on the deed, it will eventually come up and say, hey, this is the, it will actually, when they get it to the county, you also can provide them with with an addressed envelope to your end buyer with a stamp. And what they will do is once they record it, they will put a copy of that in the letter and mail it to your buyer. So your end buyer, the new owner, will have a copy of the deed in hand. So now that's rough going over it here, like questions I'm sure on it, but that's kind of the process. My end buyer never has to worry about that. There's never a formal closing. It's all handled like this. I will show you where we collect a fee for our time and and doing the documents and things like that. But that's how we convey it over. Notices just talks about communications and stuff, succession of benefits, ensured benefit of abiding upon parties there. This agreement shall not be assignable without written permission of the other party. So they can't assign this contract to somebody else. And assigning means that they take their interest and sell it to someone else. Again, this agreement is governed by the laws of Florida, depending on what state you're in. And you could even change that to say state that you're in. Time is essence, all that stuff. So here we get into the installment sale part of it. Payment and purchase price. So purchase price is $8,900 here. They're going to put $500 deposit down. Now that's not necessarily all that they're putting down as a down payment, but that's initial when they sign this thing. Now keep in mind the bold print on this is a little different. On the other one, we just said it voided the contract if it wasn't received within 5 days, but we could refund it under certain circumstances. This non-refundable payment must be received by the seller within 5 days of this contract. What you don't want to do is get this going. You may even start title search, all that stuff, because you don't, at this point in time, you may not own it yet. You still got it under contract. You have a right to buy it, but you've not bought it yet because their down payment. Well, let's say that you're buying this property for $2,000, selling it for $8,900, and they're putting $3,000 down. Well, you want that money first, then you can go and close on the property. You can go ahead and have the title search done, make sure it's okay. If something would come up, you can always refund the money back. I always usually have this title search done beforehand before I will, enter into the agreement. But that's something you can do. The main point of that is it gives you an opportunity where you're not having to come out of pocket if their down payment covers everything. And a rule of thumb is I like for the down payment to cover everything. If not 6 months, maybe a year worth of payments at best would pay off what I've got in the property. But ideally, I want it to be within that 6 months or less. Preferably, I get it right up front. Taxes and assessments, basically, you're going to escrow it like a house payment has taxes escrowed in it, possession, it's condemned, that sort of thing, care of real property. This is interesting. You may have your buyer say, well, I want to do this to the property. I want to put a building on it. Buyer will get written permission from seller before constructing anything on the property. I try to discourage them putting anything on it. And I had one buyer that needed to put a building on it. And what I did, I said, I'll write the permission to allow you to do it, but I want the type of building it is, where you're getting it, and a picture of it. Because you can tell me a building and you put some shack out there. But she did, she gave me everything, where she was buying the building, and I attached that to the written permission. So there was no kind of wonders if this was right or if it was wrong. Was this the right building? Everything was on the up and up. So that's just the biggest thing on that, because you don't want them tearing stuff up, and they can't really do a whole lot because they have to get permits and the property's in your name, so they can't get permits. Certain circumstances, you can give them permission. We've done that maybe once or twice. Sale of contract. That means if I sold this contract, the financing end of it, sold the note, I could. Talks about default, and when you get possession of that. And right here we sign it. This is La Paloma. It's another. It's a joint venture company I'm a part of. And then our buyer signed it here. So we go over here. This is Exhibit A. We talked about up here in the very first Exhibit A. We are now at Exhibit A. So on this side, we have Catherine Pinto. That's the buyer name, her street address, zip code, email address, phone number. Seller, we're buying it in the we are buying it in the form of La Paloma Investments. Mailing address for that company. Email contacts. It's got my business partners and mine. Phone number. Same thing as in the cash one. We want to have the parcel ID, the APN number on there. And then again, this one's book number, page number as well. Just two checks and balances. So if the parcel number is off, then it won't match up with this and vice versa. You want it to match up. This is the actual address of the property. This one's actually in Bronson, Florida. The size of it, the effective date of the contract is when you sign the contract. So today, if we signed the contract today, January 10th, 2022 would be the effective date of the contract. Possession of the property. You're going to have all your down payment and everything to me before you get possession. And we're saying 10 days on 4/27/2020, you will have possession of the property because I'll have the money. So we go over here again, purchase price is $8,900. Down payment is $1,500. Document fee is $500. Well, what's a document fee? A document fee covers my time of creating a new deed, mailing that in, all of that type of stuff, and my time to do that. Now that's obviously a fee that can be negotiated. I've done it $250, $300, but I typically try to keep it at $500. Additional down payment, if there was one. Property tax reserve is $0. I don't add additional things in it. Total down payment and document fee due before possession is $2,000. So they've already put $500 down up there on the front as a deposit. So they still owe $1,000 for the down payment. So that's $1,500. And then the document fee is $5,000. So that gets you to the $2,000 that they're going to put down for this property. Now, keep in mind, amount financed is you take that $1,500 off of that, which puts it down to $7,400, $7,400. Now, this one has an interest rate. Since this is a 2020 contract, I believe, yeah. Since that time, I've shied away from interest rates, and here's why. My accountant every year has to send out how much interest they've paid to them so they can deduct that on their taxes. I don't want to do all that. What you can do is, let's say the finance price is $8,900. I may have a cash price of $7,000. So buy this property today for $7,000 cash, owner finance $8,900. The price has the built-in interest rate, so you don't have a true interest rate, because at $8,900 at that point, every time they make $300 payment, $300 comes off that. $8,900 or $7,400 finance, they make a $400 payment, they're owed $7,000. Make another $400 payment, they owe $6,600, and so forth. That's how it comes down. They don't have to figure interest rates and all that stuff. This one was for 108 months. Cost of credit. Cost of credit is the 10%. How much interest are they going to pay over the life of this loan? They're going to pay $3,851.93 over the life of the loan in interest. Now, if you did the flat fee thing, cost of credit, you wouldn't even need it in there. So the monthly loan payment at $7,400 at 10% for 108 months is $104.18. That's my principal and interest payment. Now, what I do with taxes is I break that down to 12 monthly payments. So here it's a little bit more. Let's say your taxes were $1,200 a year on a piece of property. You would break that down to where the taxes would be $100 each month. So $1,497 times 12 is what the taxes currently are. Now that may adjust during the life of the loan. If the taxes go up, you can adjust it if you want. If it just goes up a few bucks, or, I don't mess with it. I just leave it the way it is. Insurance, $15. Well, do I let my buyer get the insurance, or do I get it? I get the insurance because the property is still in my name. And all I'm getting is just a simple liability policy, because what I don't want to happen is my buyer or somebody, just Joe Schmo, goes out there, twists his ankle, breaks his leg, and then wants to sue me. I don't want that. So that's what I do. I put an insurance policy on it, and I don't pay it. My end buyer pays it. A monthly loan servicing fee, what is that? $20. Well, that's the fee, and you have those things on regular mortgages too, for me to process this every month. So I could process this myself and I get extra $20. I can hand it off to one of my kids and let them process it. And all that means is taking a check to the bank and filling out the books, and I'll give them the $20. Or there's different loan processing companies out there that will do it. Typically, you need to be about $30 for them to do it, because that's what they charge. But most of my stuff I handle in-house. So the total monthly payment is that principal and interest, the monthly taxes and insurance, and the loan servicing fee, all wrapped together, comes to $154.15 per month. So that's what their payment really is each month. First payments due June 1st. Payments are due first of the month. So you may say, well, why didn't you do it on May 1st? It's in April when you're doing it. Well, we're giving them possession on the 27th on. We make them have a payment in 3 or 4 days later. You can go 45, you can go as many days you want, but we just go out to the following month. Make it easier on our buyer. Questions on that contract? I know that's a little bit more techie, but I know you guys get it. So I want to see if I have an updated one to show you. Again, we have several. Excuse me. I want to just see if this one still up. Okay. So here's a new one. Let me share my screen. Okay, so here's a good one. So basically this is all the same. Must be received in 5 business days, non-refundable. We just updated. This is an updated contract that we did sometime later in that year. We just put everything where it's a little smoother. Again, it's got the purchase price, initial down payment, what was initially put down when the contract first signed. Just make it a little more readable and easy. Document 300 here. There's no additional down payment. 3 months we didn't do. Total down payments $1,000. 7,200 finance, 7.5% interest, 6 months, and all that's the same. And then you've got the seller information here, as well as the buyer information. Now notice this contract. I didn't show you on the other one. I, as a seller, can just sign it right here, in my house, in my office, without a notary. Seller does not need to notarize. Only buyer needs a signature notarized. You want them to have it notarized because they are entering into a finance agreement. So you don't want them to say, hey, somebody financed or forged my name. No, you got it right, all right here. So that's something to think about as well as you go on that aspect of it. Questions so far? Any questions? We up into one other thing here. The closings. Let's talk about closings right quick. The types of closings there are. Types of closing. You have an attorney close. An attorney close is like a state, for example, North Carolina. You have to close through an attorney if you're not self-closing. The pro with an attorney is they can answer any legal questions that may come up. The con is they can be a little bit more expensive because it's just another person you got to pay for a closing on. Title company. Example of that may be something like sorry about that. Title company may be like Florida, for example. They use title companies to close their properties. So the pro is usually it's a little cheaper than attorney closings. It's always a pro. Con is if there's a legal issue, you'll have to contact an attorney to get some in some cases. The third one's self-close. Self-close is really what we did when we talk about what's going on out front or at the owner finance deals. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. So a self-close, that's where like I create a title, I send it in, all that stuff. One thing you want to make sure on is you got to be completely accurate. You don't want to mess that deed up in any way possible. The pro is it saves on closing costs. I can do if I pay my attorney $100 to even create the deed, so I know that it's right, and I file it for maybe less than $50, I got $150 in that closing, so to speak. Now, if I have a title search, I would want to have a title search done. It may cost me $200, $300 depending. But even at that, I'm at what, $400, whereas a regular closing is going to be at least twice that. So that's a good thing about it. And I use self closings. I only do it on really the cheaper properties that there's not a lot of value in them anyway. So that's the ones we do it on. But I do always ask my buyer, so you want to close with an attorney, or I can just deed over the property to you, and you can check on that that way, have it done without having the attorney fees. I'll let them. It's totally up to them. It doesn't matter. Again, the con is risky if no title search has been completed on the property. Can use an abstractor for a title search. They're a little cheaper than if you have, an attorney's office or a title company do it. And you can look those up, abstractors. We keep talking about deeds. What's a deed? Well, there's a couple different deeds. General warranty deed, it covers the entire history of the deed. It warranties everything. So basically, the seller must defend all other claims commensurate to the buyer for any unsettled debts or damages. So if I give you a general warranty deed, I'm guaranteeing that there is nothing encumbering that property or any of that type of stuff. Everything has been taken care of. It's a clear deed. If something comes up, I'm responsible. Or if you get title insurance takes care of that. A special warranty deed. This is what I give out most of the time. Special warranty deed, the seller is the only responsible for debts and problems occurred or accrued or caused during their ownership of the property. So if I bought a property in November and I'm selling it to you today, January 10th, I'm only guaranteeing you from November to now that there's nothing on that property. Now, chances are I've done a title search and there's nothing. I also give you the opportunity to do a title search on the property to make sure everything's good. Quick claim. Here we go. Quick claim deed. That's a little bit different. That's it does not contain any warranties that the title is free and clear of liens or any restrictions. The owner is simply transferring the property interest as is. You just sign over the deed to somebody. This deed makes this deed a favorite for transfers between family members and other situations where the parties have no need for title insurance to protect against. So like if someone, if somebody wants to get for example, you have a couple that's splitting in a divorce or whatever, they have a piece of property, one may sign it over to the other one just in a quick claim deed, or you may have friends or siblings that are going to sign it over to just one. You can do a quick claim deed like that. When you're looking at properties, always figure out what the deal is if there's a quick claim deed in it. One other thing, if you take a property, I'll give you an example. My home was a foreclosure home. People took out a big loan to remodel the property, and based on that, they ended up losing it. And I came in and took it, and they've done most of the work, which was good. But when I bought it, because it was a foreclosure, I bought it with a special warranty deed. Now I had the title search done and everything was fine. I have a title insurance. When I sell it, I can sell it with a general warranty deed because I've had title insurance. I've had the title search done. I know everything's clear. So I bought it in special warranty, but I can sell it in general warranty. Next one is a tax deed. People buy tax deeds. I don't get into that very much because they give me a headache, to be quite frank. Refers to a legal document granting ownership of a property to a government body when the owner fails to pay any associated property taxes. Is there a ceiling for that? Is there a minimum amount? No, it's totally up to that county. Gives the government agency the authority to sell the property to collect delinquent taxes. There's some people that get all into that and do that. It's not my thing, so I don't really deal with that a whole lot. But that's something you can do. So we went over a lot tonight. We went over the contracts, which is, to me, is very important. You want your contracts to be good and solid. Ours has been tried a couple of times. Somebody says, well, I don't think it's legal. It stood up the times. It's only been once or twice, but it stood up in whatever state. And it's good for every state for the most part, I believe. We talked about the owner finance. Again, owner financing deals, in the beginning, if you're in the beginning of the land business or any kind of real estate business, you really want cash deals because you want to build up your cash for your business. But as you grow your business, you'll really appreciate owner finance deals. And the reason being is I cannot work this entire month and everything and everybody in the company is paid for due to financing deals that are coming in. So every month I get mailbox money that pays for the company, keeps the company running. And you think about it, one owner finance deal could pay for one mailer each month, depending on what it is, or offset it to maybe two finance deals, could pay for a mailer each month. So they're great tools so that you don't have to chase the next deal. Of course, we always like cash deals, but it's an opportunity not to have to do that. Just kind of diversifies your business a little bit. Some of the things that we'll talk about on the next call is we're probably going to get into some aspects of we've done a deal now. We've closed it, we bought a property, we've sold a property. So now we're a real business. Where do we need to take this business now? What do we need to do next? And that's what we'll talk about. We'll actually get it up and look at how you can build a team. And basically what you want to do is you want to stop working for your business and have your business work for you. And I'll show you ways to do that. We'll also get into different marketing techniques. I know we talked about mailers, and we can talk a little bit more about doing mailers. We can talk about SMX testing campaign or texting campaigns, are really big now, and the pros and cons of each of those. So those are some, so the next one we get into is really going to start diving in and digging up some bigger topics and issues. Now, keep in mind, if you ever want to have a consultation with me, startinvestingwithmike.com. It'll bring up a little button where you can click and jump on my calendar. Again, we'll talk, we'll look at what you've got going on, kind of set you up for the next 30 days and tell you kind of what you want to do on one-on-one service. I don't do that for everybody, but I do it for, it's me and my business partner usually. But we do it for you guys and just in appreciation of putting up and listening to me. So it's www.startinvestingwithmike.com. Again, next week we will get into, or next month, February. And I appreciate all you guys seeing the new time. We moved it to 5 o'clock, hoping it would be better. I used to do a real estate show or we moved it to 7 o'clock. I used to do a real estate show on Mondays at 7, so it never worked, but we've moved the show and so this works. But we do, we look forward to working with you in any way we can. Again, these recordings are on 2 places. They keep them, I think, for 90 days on the REI USA website. And there's apparently, and I've not been to it, and that's my fault. There's an REI USA YouTube channel, and it's got a lot of the different classes on it. So you can have them in both areas. Again, I really appreciate you guys being on here. If you ever have any questions, please let me know. I'll be glad to help you any way I can. I love the land business. Do I do other stuff? Yes, I do. I do short-term rental stuff I've had pulled my hair out with the last 2 weeks. The land business actually is very nice to get back to and do it, because it's kind of my foundation. When I'm building the different things I do in real estate, my solid foundation that you need for anything is my land business. Everything else in my company can fall apart. As long as that's together, it's fine. I can do it remotely anywhere. I don't have to worry about termites or rotten floors or leaks or letting somebody in a door to go in a house. They can go see it whenever they want. If they want to steal some dirt, that's fine. Steal some dirt. You're not stealing my copper out of a house. So I'm happy with that. But yeah, if I can ever do anything for you, let me know. Again, I appreciate it. We will be back in February, the second Monday of the month, 7 o'clock. And we'll get into a little bit more high level stuff. Thank you again. And I look forward to next month. If anybody has any questions, you can certainly shoot them out now. All right. Well, thank you again for joining in, and we will see you all next month. See you.